this installment of the Legion Clubhouse, never meet your heroes. Seriously.
They were the heroes from the future. Teenagers protecting the universe from those that would sow the seeds of chaos. Each had unique powers and abilities. And though they often had their differences, they came together to save the day as the Legion of Superheroes. Now, you can be a part of their adventures and learn the history of the future in the Legion Clubhouse.
Okay, Matthew, with issue 22, 2 issues away from the quote-unquote end of year 2 of this Legion run.
Yes.
And things are starting to fall into place, even though there have been clues dropped, it still feels super cryptic. And only really makes sense when Valor says it out loud.
Yes.
And I guess the question that I have is, I think you mentioned this maybe a couple of episodes ago. What issue did the Legion deal with having the clone, the data banks for their biometric data? Because they keep mentioning things like Nardo. This takes place in 2977. There's a thing about Universo accessing the DNA banks. When was this? Was this when they were kidnapped and brainwashed?
I believe that the Universo portion of it is when Universo took over the world during the Universo gambit during Volume 4.
Yeah, that's when
cloning banks.
That's when they were kidnapped and put on those different worlds, and Atmos and Dream Girl had their affair, or Saturn Girl had their affair. I forget which one it was.
It was Dream Girl. And Saturn Girl, Dream Girl, Brainiac 5, and Chameleon Boy were dubbed the smartest Legionnaires of all time.
Right.
And your screams are actually still audible. But the Legion cloning banks go back, and I think it's going to be Superboy and the Legion 208 or thereabouts. During the Grell era, we find that the Legionnaires have banks, basically genetic cloning banks of their genetic material stored in the clubhouse. But when they talk about 2978 and the beginnings of this, 2977-78 would have been right before or around the death of Pharaoh-Lat. So it would have been circa Adventure Comics number 367, because it's when the new Legion headquarters was built. And the new headquarters, the one that wasn't the rocket ship,
right,
is where they had the cloning banks.
Ah, okay.
But
I was just wondering if there was a specific event where the bad guys would have access to the DNA structures of the Legion, and the only one that I could think of was when Universo took over and hypnotized everybody.
Well, Universo actually did that twice, but I believe that Universo's first run, back when he had the Super Gulag,
right,
and Matter Eater Lad ate his way out,
right,
and a bunch of no-name heroes that we had never heard of before died heroically. I believe that was before the issue where we saw the new Legion, but I may also be wrong on that. But I can tell you that when we talk about the 78 era, according to 2099 or 2995, the Legion Clubhouse guidebook, which I have now started having to read literally every week. But that was 2978 would have been right around Adventure Comics 367, which is important here in a couple of issues because it does explain certain things that may or may not have happened that Mon-El is worried about when he says, "Is it us?
Yeah.
Could it be us?"
Yeah, that's the next issue.
Yeah, but he's like, "Is it us?" No, he says it in this issue. Is what if it's us?
Oh yeah, maybe it is in this issue. Right. Because Valor does say it out loud. What if it is us?
What if it is us? Yeah.
Yeah. So it's again. This is an issue that takes place in 1991. I don't feel like I should have to read a guidebook from 1995 to put it all together.
Well, sir, I got to tell you, there's 2 things you need to know. One, if that is your problem, then you don't need to have 2 hardcore, deep cut Legion of Superhero fans like Mr. and Mrs. Bierbaum write in your book, because it gets worse from here.
Yeah, no, that's kind of been my argument from the very beginning. It's funny if you remember these things, but again, it's not new reader friendly overall.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of like this whole plot about the Gemini Matrix, which I still think is weird. It almost feels like it's a magic trick that's about to go horribly, horribly wrong.
Now, I talked to Buzz Aldrin, and he wants you to know it's the Gemini.
Yes, but
he says
still,
Gemini Matrix.
It feels like we're making a meta commentary. It feels like we're about to pull back the curtain, and the reveal is going to be womp womp as opposed to ta-da.
The weird thing is, Al Gordon has been a part of this creative team from the beginning, from issue 1 of Legion of Superheroes Volume 4 in 1989. But the Arya and Laurie portion of last issue and this issue feel like they're taking place in a completely different universe. It's like, excuse me, I have Schwilkes. The Al Gordon portions of this issue and last issue feel like they're taking place in a completely different universe, where it honestly feels to me like you've got a collaboration. So you've got Al, you've got Keith, and you've got Tom and Mary doing their thing. This is what Al wanted the book to be, I swear to you, is when we go through the Quiet Darkness. And it's an entirely different world, it feels like. But also, I kind of think about, what if Al were the one who was driving this from the beginning? So what if Legion of Superheroes Volume 4 was this, or like this from the beginning?
Al Gordon was pulling the strings like Darkseid the entire time.
I don't know, but I mean, on the one hand, I do like Al's take. I feel like Al's whole concept here, with the exception of, the Gemini, is neat. It feels like it should have legs, and it's a shame that it kind of doesn't, because I feel like the setup for Laurie and Arya really needed to be put in before issue 1 of the 4-issue arc, where they become incredibly important to the sense of the universe. But also, it's an interesting little story, and it feels like it's taking place in, kind of a Star Wars world where everything is wrecked and everything's dirty. And
that's
rebuilding.
That's still part of the thing that I think. I don't know if it puts off a lot of readers. I know that there are a lot of fans out there who this is where they got in with the Legion, was the 5 years later, and they loved it because they got to pick through everything and try to figure out what it meant and follow the clues and the mystery boxes right there on the table if you'll just touch it. But 6 years ago, 10 years ago, I would have said, oh no, there's no way that the whole entire system of the United Planets would collapse into this rubble of chaos and destruction in 5 years. And yet here we are. So, I mean, that's still a little bit, everything has turned dystopian almost overnight. There's not like a slow buildup to dystopia. It's like somebody snapped their finger and dystopia happened across the entire system. And that still kind of sits weird for me. The other thing that sits weird is, at the time the story takes place, the Legion punched Darkseid in his big old face and defeated all the Daxamites, roughly 10 years prior?
Give or take, yeah.
And yet we get a Darkseid that is all just like melancholy and subdued.
Yeah.
And it does not feel like a Darkseid who has lived for infinity and has just now in the last 10 years seen the error of his ways. It really feels like, especially with Darkseid going, ha ha ha, I got you, especially with Saturn Girl and Lightning Lad, ha ha ha, I got you. This is my greatest, gag ever on you guys.
My great curse.
It feels like even 5 years after that he would not have gone into this despair of, woe is me, the time of the gods has gone. And I know that we are right around the time that Twilight of the Gods is being pitched and talked about. And so I don't know if part of that is falling off and sloughing off onto Darkseid, if he's just like, I've tried to conquer the entire world for, eons, thousands upon thousands of years. And here I am in the last 10 years of life, just going, oh, I might as well stop now. That just doesn't feel like a demigod way of doing things.
It doesn't feel earned in the time that it's been, either in the real world, because it hasn't even been 10 years since the Great Darkness. That was 82.
Right.
But in universe, the only thing that I can think happened is that we saw Darkseid resurrected in the Great Darkness saga.
Right.
We saw him, and he reenacted that whole thing of the birth of man, and then he got his last shot in, and then just kind of went dark. No pun intended.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
so if we figure,
I think anytime we see darkness in a DC title from now on,
right,
we know that it has to do with Darkseid. The other thing
Darkseid.
So in hindsight, this takes place 1,000 years in the future.
Right.
In the in-between times between the actual world, the actual time period of 1991 and the fictional world of the Legion, Darkseid has obtained, used, mutilated, redone the anti-life equation time and time again. And yet here he's still not driven by that, which makes me wonder, does the Gemini Matrix have something to do with his ultimate giving up of the anti-life equation or not?
The thing about anti-life is that
Darkseid is.
You can't, Darkseid is, yes, but you can't ever achieve it.
Yeah.
Because it really is that thing that if Darkseid ever achieves anti-life, that's the end of Darkseid. I mean, it's the end of everything, but it's the end of Darkseid. And so on the one hand, I can definitely see the concept that Darkseid worked with anti-life. He had so long with anti-life. And, it's important to keep in mind that anti-life is, in fact, the same as when William Shatner said to fans, get a life. I wonder if Darkseid, if we're supposed to believe that Darkseid has finally come to the belief that anti-life is a myth. He can never achieve anti-life. And this 10-year depression has overcome him. And for lack of a better word, and to use a kind of a horrible medical term, he's kind of sundown, where everything.
See, that's even hard to believe too, right? I mean, he's Darkseid. Darkseid doesn't just lay down one day and go to sleep and never wake up again. He is an all-being. He's an ever-present god. Again, he calls himself a god. Jack Kirby calls him a new god. For lesser extents, gods don't die. And that's why I was wondering if that comic book pitch for Twilight of the Gods was somehow, rubbed off onto Darkseid.
I don't know if Darkseid, well, I mean, yes, it has, because Twilight of the Gods, like everything in this era, rolled out of that, triumvirate of Ronin to Dark Knight Returns to Watchmen. And so we really are at a point where, Watchmen deconstructed things to the point where in 1991, it was hard to do a straightforward, this is a traditional superhero story. At this point in time, the Justice League is in the midst, I believe, of breakdowns or just before breakdowns. The Bwahaha Legion is falling apart. Their members are being murdered, in horrible ways. We've gotten to the point where even, the X-Men in 91 had just relaunched with a huge new thing. And their whole gimmick was, it's not superheroes. These guys are a subclass of people who are being treated horribly and they have to fight for their own survival.
Right.
All of the things that were happening in the 90s in comics made a traditional superhero story very difficult. Chameleon Boy calls it out in this issue. He says, nobody wants code names anymore.
Yeah,
and he might as well be talking about comics.
I'm wondering, I don't think that is true. I would say that while Chameleon does say nobody wants code names anymore, history from the moment this comic was released has proven otherwise. Not
That's
just
true.
In comics, but in real life. I mean, you go online and everyone has a hero name, whether that be the name that you use or Rodrigo uses or that, other people use online. Almost everyone
Nature spoilers,
has,
Fearsome Critter and Mighty King Cobra would be a great superhero triumvirate.
Well, but I'm saying is this is where, well, there's multiple things where I think this issue falls apart, especially as we move forward. And that is one of them, that nobody wants to use a superhero name or wear a costume, because that again also has not proven true in the case of when we look at tribalism. And tribalism doesn't necessarily mean political tribalism, although if we look at politics and tribalism right now, we can see the costume that each side wears. But even if we look at sports and the tribalism surrounding sports, everyone's wearing their favorite jersey, their favorite team colors, whatever that is.
True.
That's part of that costume. And they're going to go online and use their superhero name, Cowboys Fan 2162. Because the other 2,161 Cowboy fans have already been used. So, I think that's an interesting concept when we're looking at the dark, depressive times of 1990s comics and the grimdark of 90s comics. But in reality, that just really doesn't play out.
And it is interesting to think about this because, when you say, is it the 90s? It is to some degree, but also it's important to realize that in 1991, Keith Giffen is 39, Al Gordon is 40, Tom Bierbaum is 36, Mary Bierbaum is 40. These are people who are at that point in their life where maybe they are, the creators are wanting to see. Well, not even necessarily cynical, but definitely seeing a change. I mean, in my 40s, I cut my hair. And, I went and I was like, oh, hello, I am an adult. And, you do have these moments. And I feel like the aging of these fans to creators and the storylines taking on these new life, taking on this, hey, the Legion of Superheroes was all the wacky kids with the lad names. And now they're dark and gritty and the moon exploded and everybody's wearing a leather jacket and they're depressed. And, also there's clones for some reason.
Well, we don't know that for sure yet. It just is some speculation.
It's highly implied.
Yeah. Oh, no. Remember, we are at issues 22 and 23. 24 is the end of the year, too. I did find it funny, though, when Valor is going through the logs, that there is this Y2K bug fallacy that shows up in that everything is listed. Let's see if I can find the specific page. But Valor is going through everything, and he's like, oh, this says 6/27/77, and that wouldn't be possible in the following Y2K, because the whole point was, how do we correct for the fact that we were trying to save computer space by dropping the 19, and then everybody panicking when they were like, what happens when this rolls over to the year 2000? So I found that kind of humorous to be in there. Also, I'm curious if the Timberwolf reveal is really that much of a reveal.
It's definitely not. Now, I do think that for those who may not have been paying close attention, the previous Timberwolf revelations were pretty quiet. But also, I think to some degree, it's meant to be an in-universe cute moment for Arya to say, oh, yes, you're my second favorite Legionnaire. But this is a point where I think that we are setting up that we're identifying Timberwolf, who, by the way, throughout this issue, his name is spelled without a space, and Timberwolf's code name does, in fact, have a space, and I will fight you if you argue it. But anyway, never mind.
No, his name in this issue is Frisky. He's gone from, what did Kona call him? Furball. From Furball to Frisky, to finally the revelation of, oh, this is all a fairy tale. If I just kiss him, he'll turn back into who he needs to turn back into. A reminder, she's like a 10-year-old girl or 12-year-old girl.
And reminder, sometimes even fairy tale powers don't take place immediately.
The other thing that I find surprising, and we could argue whether they are technically members of the Legion of Superheroes or not, but Valor and Shadow Lass have no problem going around taking out Dark Circle people, and Timberwolf definitely has no problem taking out Science Police and ripping them apart. So that whole Legion doesn't kill kind of doesn't maybe not so much apply here.
Well, it's the 90s,
Yeah. The only other thing that I had a question on, and maybe this is answered fairly soon, why is everyone after the Dazzle Gem of Gem World?
Do you want me to tell you?
No, not really.
Okay.
Anything else that stands out in this issue really quick?
The main thing about this issue that I think is really, really impressive is this is getting towards the end of Keith. Excuse me. This is getting towards the end of Keith as the penciler, the main penciler on the book. If you look at page 9, and it's the 6th panel of the 9-panel grid, there's a shot where the power has gone out in the ship, and we see Celeste looking out into a star field, and it is just gorgeous.
Yeah, it's a pretty cool shot.
It's a beautiful, beautiful shot. I'm just like, yeah, let's watch 2 of those.
Yeah, cool.
If you enjoy the show, we would appreciate your support. You can find out more and become a Legion Clubhouse member at patreon.com/majorspoilers.
We are into The Quiet Darkness Part 3. And I guess the first question I have is, what's up with Lobo? We know that Lobo has no problem killing. And in fact, he goes to, I wouldn't say humorous extremes, but gratuitous extremes in order to take out SP and other people that stand in his way. Here, oh, your neck's a little sore. Here, let me help you. Oop, sorry, I guess I twisted your head completely off. But when he confronts Brainiac, he punches him in the face once and is like, oh, he goes down with a glass jaw. But he doesn't dismember. He doesn't punch Brainiac so hard that his head explodes. None of that happens. So I'm just curious, what's going on with Lobo?
Well, there is the argument to be made that much like Darkseid, 1,000 years have caused the Lobo that we know and vaguely tolerate, our good old pal, he who eats your entrails and thoroughly enjoys it, may have been a little bit changed by the 1,000 years. I will say this, that answer comes in 24, and the answer is definitely going to let you know that you are right to ask that question. So yeah, Lobo is.
Does he have a tiny look? He takes off his shirt, and there's a little tiny Lobo coming out of his chest that says, "Get your ass to Mars."
Quato, no, it's not Total Recall. Thank you very much. It's a different Arnold Schwarzenegger film. He's like, "I'll be back because I'm Lobo."
Okay,
no.
All right.
No.
Also, I'm still
Richard
curious.
Dawson shows up and shoots him into a sewer.
Nice. I've asked this before because Kent Shakespeare is a relatively new character.
Yes.
But after the events of the previous episode where we talked about Vidano Bay, did Kent Shakespeare get his powers in that explosion?
He did not.
Well, when did he get them?
Here's the thing. In order to know that answer, you have to read 2995 a Legion thing. And now, here's the thing. It was initially designed to be a module for the DC role-playing game.
Right.
What it has become for fans in the 20th century is, well, I guess we're in the 21st century. I'm from Kansas. Yeah, the source book. And so here's what you need to know. After the death of Magnetic Kid, which happened in the spring of 2989,
right,
Impulse shows up, and Impulse was exposed to an alien virus. And so what happened was young Kent Shakespeare was a medical student who was somehow exposed to this alien virus, and the virus started making him sick, but then it started making him better. And as it made him better, it basically rebuilt his body to pseudo-Kryptonian, or, forgive me, we're in the post-crisis era, pseudo-Daxamite levels, essentially. So the kid has a terrible disease. They think he's dying. They call in a consult. They bring in Coral Dax. Brainiac 5 comes in and realizes that the virus is making him stronger and stronger and stronger. And eventually, Kent learns how to use his super speed, his super strength, basically becoming a kind of a pseudo-Daxamite, I would say Ultra Boy level, as we saw this issue and last issue, where he and Ultra Boy are going into battle together. So I think they said, was like 5'9" or 5'10" and grew a good 4
like
inches.
4 inches or something.
And is incredibly strong and incredibly powerful. He was a member of the Legion up until the Black Dawn event, which technically happened in the past, but we haven't gotten to it yet. But the Black Dawn event did 3 things. 1, Sunboy resigned from the Legion and joined the Earth Gov. 2, Timberwolf was exposed to weird, crazy radiation that caused him to mutate into a furball. And 3, Kent and several other Legionnaires just up and quit the team.
Okay.
So Kent was a member of the Legion entirely during the 5-year gap. Had powers. Yeah, had powers at the beginning. He had his powers. He went to Venado Bay because he was friends with Cosmic Boy, and he didn't really have anywhere else to go because he had been run off of Earth by EarthGov. Because,
and we find this out in an upcoming probably year 3 story or year 4 story.
Nope, we find this out in 2999 the Legion source book. Okay. And it is never revealed in the book.
Yeah, because the other thing that I'm thinking about is when you're reading the memos and the other things that are going on in the back, they talk about the NR-induced metagenetic reaction that people are having on Earth, and that's where we get a lot of other people. And so I didn't know if that NR radiation is the same thing as the gene bomb from Invasion, leftover, kind of a leftover byproduct of the gene bomb. Because if you remember during Invasion, the Diskheads set off this bomb that was supposed to turn off all the metahuman gene in people, the heroes that were out there. But it had a weird effect of actually activating genes in other people. And that's where Snapper Carr gets his powers and how we ended up with Legion and a bunch of those others. So I didn't know if those two were tied in with one another or not.
I think thematically they have to be, in that A, they share an in-universe source, which is the Dominators, and B, they share an out-of-universe source, which is the writing of Keith Giffen.
Yeah.
So Giff co-created at the very least the gene bomb, and Giff definitely co-created the null radiation here. I would say that, it's probably either similar or the same. We remember a couple of issues ago, we saw them killing Atmos with the Bion unit.
Right.
And they talked about the Bion unit getting power from the weird, crazy, wacky radiations as well. We won't call him Composite Superman because,
Amazo.
He's Composite Superman. Yeah. Essentially, but yeah.
So what else do we have here? I have industrial repair droids. Seem like a weird precursor of things to come for our very own day and age. So be aware when these companies start rolling out things and they call them industrial repair droids. That's the time to run, because they will smash you to pieces unless you are a superhuman like Kent Shakespeare or Joe Na.
Joe and Kent trying to go into the field rusty just amuses the crap out of me.
Yeah, especially when they're like, "Oh, do maneuver tango," and he's like, "I have no idea what you're talking about."
There is no maneuver tango, but at one point it literally comes down to Kent getting beaten down so that all of the bad guys are in one place so that Joe can hit them with flash vision.
Yeah.
And there's this massive explosion and you just see Kent's body flying away and a little word balloon just says, "I hate this."
Yeah.
It's it's a beautiful moment. It's what would actually happen.
Probably. It's a good maneuver. Gather,
you got an invulnerable
get your
guy,
tank, get your tank in the middle, and then suddenly have your warlock drop a firebomb on you.
Hey, now wait a minute.
I also have here that boom tubes have become the new Star Trek transporter.
Pew, 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 pew. I don't know what's up with the boom tube stuff. It bothers me that they're using boom tubes like that.
Well, it's Darkseid, so you have to use boom tubes. And apparently boom tubes are so good that you can pinpoint the exact location somebody is at and boom tube them to where you're at, which in this issue doesn't work.
No, and it won't ever. We do discover an important thing, and it's rare because Kent and Joe are the Daxamite powered guys. We actually see that Celeste is more powerful than Kent and Joe, at least in this particular situation, because while they're getting their faces pounded in repeatedly, somebody gets too close to Celeste and she literally nukes the site from orbit.
Yeah.
Just blasts everything with mysterious green energy.
Somebody needs to get her to a recharge station as quickly as they can, perhaps at the center of the universe, if such a place still
in
exists.
brightest day or darkest night. They need to. And of course, there's that great moment of she's breathing. She's transparent.
Yeah,
she's breathing.
She must be okay. Okay, so here's the other one that
really good, Doctor.
knowing what's coming up in issue 24.
Yes.
Jimmy Olsen has been trapped under the ground for 4 issues now.
Devlin O'Ryan, yes.
Yes, Devlin O'Jimmy. It seems like if the Legion are standing there, I don't think we should trust them because they should be taking
They've been
action
there for a long time.
Yeah, for 4 issues of him just going, oh, don't bother me. I'm just trapped under these 20 million tons of rubble. Oh, please don't lift your good leg there, girl. I could certainly use some help. And they're just like, well, should we trust him? Should we do something about it? No, they're the Legion. They should be doing something. So this automatically sets issue 24 up to a very bad spot when the big reveal happens, because they did nothing to help somebody who was in need.
It is a problem. And honestly, the time compression, much like The Empire Strikes Back, can't make sense because Devlin has been dying in the canyon. I'm sorry, dying in the dungeon. No, wait, he's in the sewers, wherever he is. He's in the caverns. He's been there for like 4 or 5 issues, as you said. Mon-El has done about 5 minutes worth of things in that time. Excuse me, Valor. I'll never get used to that. And the Legion has had like 2 whole adventures. So I really do feel like we have to be looking at either weird time compression due to something time, space, and dimension.
I mean,
and or too many writers, too many cooks.
The same thing happens in television. So, I mean, I can forgive it, but it is just this weird artifact of here's somebody that's been trapped under this rubble for 4 issues, and the supposed heroes are standing there doing nothing.
Canonically, a 17-year-old boy, I might add. So what you're looking at is basically a late teenage leprechaun is bleeding out, and these secret shadow people are like, who could it be? What should we do? I don't know. Okay, well, what do we do now? Let's talk for another issue. Okay.
So at least the old costumes are back.
Well, the shirts at least, but I do.
I sure hope, he says cryptically, that we don't have to rely too much on hairstyles to tell us who's real and who isn't.
Given that Joe's ponytail keeps disappearing in inopportune times, I, for one, am happy to see the return of the Thunderbird.
Yes, but what happens when his double shows up? Then we are going to have to. What happens? What is Laurel going to do when suddenly she's short. Like, "Who is that person?"
Oh, please! Laurel is 7'2" tall with a balcony you could do Shakespeare off of, and they have her putting on an image inducer that gives her red hair, and that's supposed to disguise her. I'm not sure. 7 foot tall women.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure about the whole point of her disguise module.
I think it's to keep from getting attention from the Coons, because the Coons want to murder her.
Yeah, but they're on Earth,
right? But they want to murder her, and I think that it's like, okay, so Bruce Wayne would have a permanent tan line on his lower jaw, and Clark Kent's glasses must be hypno glasses because blah blah blah. I feel like it's there at the very least they are making a nominal sort of head nod to the concept of the secret identity. And frankly, at this point in 1991, as the secret identity slowly, withers and dies on the vine, I'm fine with it. I just wish that it was something other than, instead of a 7'2" blonde with her butt hanging out, it's a 7'2" redhead with her butt hanging out.
Oh man, that whole tight leotard thing, which was all the rage thanks to Jane Fonda. Yep. And her work.
Oh yeah.
That is like early proto Adam Hughes cheesecake pose right there.
It is.
And I was just like, whoa, when did Adam Hughes start working for DC Comics? And the answer is right about now.
Jason Pearson is, I won't say an acolyte of Adam Hughes, but he's definitely in the Adam Hughes sort of oeuvre, of genre, if you will.
Yeah.
So get used to Laurel in that costume. And at one point, keep in mind that her code name was almost Flying Buttress.
No, I don't believe that.
That's true. We'll get there, and then you will go, oh, Matthew was right. I apologize.
That wraps it up for this installment of the Legion Clubhouse. Next time, another year comes to a close and all the pieces come together. Maybe.
This podcast is copyright 2025 by Major Spoilers Entertainment, LLC.